You wake up, your body moves, you speak when spoken to, maybe you even smile, but inside? Nothing. Just that strange, silent hollowness. No obvious reason. No trauma. No breakup. No loss. And yet, it feels like something vital is missing, like you're a living ghost inside your own life. This isn't sadness. It's not even depression in the way most people understand it. It's something quieter, more haunting. A psychological vacuum. And the most terrifying part? You can't explain it. You can't even point to a cause. You just feel gone. This eerie sensation has a name in psychology. It's more common than you think, but rarely talked about because it doesn't scream the way other emotions do. It whispers. It numbs. And often, it hides behind success, smiles, or routines. So, what causes this haunting emptiness when everything on paper looks fine? Is it your childhood? Your suppressed identity? A trauma you don't even remember? Or, is your brain quietly protecting you from something it doesn't trust you to face? You're about to uncover a side of psychology that's rarely explored, not because it's unimportant, but because it's uncomfortable. If this already resonates with something you've never been able to explain, you're not alone. Tap that like button if you've ever felt this psychological emptiness. Subscribe to explore the hidden patterns of your mind, and share this with someone who needs to hear that their numbness isn't nothing. It's a clue. The void has a name. You've probably tried to name it before: boredom, burnout, laziness, maybe even depression. But none of those words really capture the stillness, the strange emotional silence that follows you around. It's like a fog in your chest that doesn't lift, even when things go well. You can smile at a joke and feel absolutely nothing inside. You can be surrounded by people, yet feel like a shadow in the room. Psychologists call this feeling emotional numbness, but that's just the surface label. Dig a little deeper, and you'll find a cluster of related phenomena: depersonalization, derealization, dissociation, and in many cases, even existential emptiness. And here's the catch: most people experiencing this don't look like they're struggling. They function. They show up. They blend in. It's the invisible kind of suffering. Sometimes, this emptiness begins early in life. Other times, it shows up suddenly after a breakup, after achieving something big, or even after finally feeling safe. And that's the mindbender. For many people, the emptiness doesn't show up during chaos, it arrives after. Why? Because when the brain is in survival mode, it doesn't have time to feel empty. You're in fight or flight. But once things calm down, that's when the deeper, older emotional wounds begin to surface. It's like a still pond finally reflecting what's been buried underneath. In therapy, some psychologists refer to this state as a protective freeze. Not the kind where your body locks up physically, but emotionally. You disconnect not because you want to, but because somewhere deep inside, your brain decided that feeling is unsafe. Here's something that might disturb you. According to studies in the Journal of Traumatic Stress, people who experience childhood emotional neglect or invalidation often grow up to experience this persistent emptiness, even without remembering any specific trauma. Their minds simply learned, no one's interested in how you feel, so let's just turn that part off. In other words, the emptiness isn't random. It's the psychological scar of a nervous system that gave up trying to be heard. This is also why so many people with this kind of emotional vacuum get misdiagnosed. They're told they're just unmotivated, apathetic, or depressed, but depression is often loud. It's subtle. It's quiet. It doesn't demand help, it slips under the radar. And here's the dangerous part: if you don't understand what this emptiness really is, you'll start trying to fix it in the wrong ways. Through distractions, addictions, achievements, relationships. And when none of that fills the void, the emptiness grows heavier, and the questions get darker. That's why it's so important to name it. Because once you name the void, you stop blaming yourself for feeling it. You stop fighting your own psychology. And only then can you start listening to what it's trying to tell you. How the brain builds emotional walls. your brain is smarter than you think, not just at solving problems, but at hiding pain. Emotional walls aren't something we consciously build, they're constructed quietly over time, brick by psychological brick. Sometimes without a single tear. And often, without your permission. Here's what most people don't realize: your brain is designed to protect you first and connect you second. Let's say you went through something painful: rejection, shame, betrayal, even subtle neglect. Maybe it wasn't dramatic, maybe no one even noticed. But your nervous system did. And if that pain wasn't processed properly because you were too young, too overwhelmed, or too unsupported, your brain filed it away and numbed the access point. This is where dissociation enters the picture. Dissociation isn't just some clinical diagnosis. It's a survival reflex. A way the mind says, "This hurts too much, let's shut it down." So when you feel that emptiness for no reason, that's often your brain refusing to let you touch something deeper. One of the most studied defense mechanisms behind this feeling is emotional suppression. It's not that you don't feel, it's that you've learned it's safer not to. Over time, this creates an emotional gap. You know you should feel something, but you don't. And the more you try to force it, the more disconnected you feel from your own inner world. Here's a haunting insight: the more you suppress, the less access you have, not just to pain, but to everything. Joy, excitement, connection. They all live in the same emotional system. You can't selectively numb emotions. You either feel or you don't. According to a study published in Psychological Science, people who habitually suppress emotions not only struggle with emotional emptiness, but also experience weaker memory, lower empathy, and higher rates of relationship dissatisfaction. Why? Because emotional walls keep out danger, but they also block out life. And your brain doesn't build these walls randomly. It builds them intelligently around patterns. Around moments of shame, guilt, failure, or abandonment. Imagine a child reaching out for comfort and getting cold silence. That child might not cry next time. Instead, they learn, this doesn't work. Better to shut down. Now picture that same child grown up, sitting at their job, in a relationship, staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., feeling completely hollow. That's not laziness. That's architecture. And these emotional walls are not just psychological. They're neurological. Brain scans have shown that people with high emotional suppression have reduced activity in the anterior insula, the part of the brain that integrates emotional awareness. In simple terms, the wiring literally changes to make it harder to feel. The brain doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you're safe. But safe doesn't always mean alive. The ghosts of unmet needs. Every human being enters the world with a set of basic emotional needs: to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel safe, and to feel loved for who they are, not who they pretend to be. These needs are as real as the need for food or air. But when they're not met, especially in childhood, the wound doesn't always bleed. Sometimes, it just echoes. This is the echo you feel when you sit in silence and something feels off, but you don't know what it is. It's not loneliness. You could be surrounded by people. It's not exhaustion. You might have slept fine. It's a deeper absence, like a part of you never developed because no one ever met that part with love. Psychologists call this childhood emotional neglect, and it's terrifyingly easy to miss. Because it doesn't always come from abusive homes. In fact, it often comes from functional ones. Parents who provided food, clothes, education, but not presence. Not emotional validation. Not attunement. The message you received wasn't always verbal. It was in the eye contact that didn't linger. The conversation that never dug deeper. The comfort that arrived late or not at all. And over time, your nervous system concluded, my emotions aren't important. So maybe I'm not either. This doesn't just go away with age. It grows roots in your identity. You become the strong one. The independent one. The one who doesn't need much. And sure, on the outside, that looks mature. But internally? That emotional hunger never stopped. It just got quieter. And heavier. Here's the twist: when a core need is unmet, your mind doesn't just forget it. It internalizes failure. You didn't just miss out on love, you assumed you were unlovable. You weren't just ignored, you assumed your needs were a burden. You didn't just go unseen, you concluded that you must be invisible. So now, as an adult, when someone compliments you, it doesn't register. When someone offers love, it feels confusing. When you achieve something, the celebration feels empty. Because the ghosts of your unmet needs whisper, "This isn't real, you don't deserve this, don't trust it." And here's where it gets darker: the longer these needs go unacknowledged, the more your mind tries to fill them with substitutes: success, status, attraction, even chaos. Anything that gives a flicker of meaning. But none of it sticks. Because your brain isn't looking for those things. It's looking for something it never got, and now doesn't know how to ask for. That's why the emptiness feels baseless. Because the origin is hidden in early memory, not in logic. Not in current events. It's a psychological hunger with no language. Just a deep, aching sense that something vital was missed, and might never be found. But naming the need? That's the first step to healing it. Why success can make you feel worse. This might sound strange at first, but success, for some people, doesn't feel like a reward. It feels like exposure. Like standing under a spotlight with nothing inside. You work for years to reach a goal, and when you finally get there, nothing. No thrill. No joy. Just a brief flicker of relief, maybe, followed by a deeper sense of emptiness. And worse, guilt. Because shouldn't you feel something? This is one of the most psychologically misunderstood experiences, the post-success void. And it makes perfect sense once you understand the hidden wiring beneath achievement. Many people driven toward high achievement aren't running toward something, they're running away from something. Away from insignificance. Away from shame. Away from feeling like a burden or a failure. The problem? When your motivation is rooted in fear, not fulfillment, success becomes a defense mechanism, not a destination. You believe, if I just do enough, if I earn enough, if I become enough, then I'll finally feel okay. But when that moment comes, the degree, the promotion, the money, the praise, and nothing inside you shifts? That's not just disappointing. It's shattering. Because your mind has nothing left to chase, and still nothing to feel. This is where the emotional blueprint from earlier chapters returns. If your core emotional needs were never met, success cannot replace them. It can distract you, but it can't fulfill you. A 2018 study in the Journal of Positive Psychology explored this exact phenomenon. Researchers found that people with unresolved childhood emotional wounds were significantly more likely to experience depressive symptoms after achieving major goals, even when those goals were objectively positive. Why? Because the external success clashed with the internal identity of not good enough. Instead of resolving that identity, it magnified the dissonance. It's like building a mansion on top of an earthquake fault. No matter how beautiful it looks, it never feels stable. And here's another paradox: people who feel chronically empty often believe that doing more will fix it. But overachievement, especially when it's compulsive, is often a sign of internal disconnection, not internal strength. That's why some of the most high-functioning, seemingly successful people secretly feel the most hollow. Because their success was a survival strategy, not an expression of self. And the moment they slow down, when the noise quiets and there's no one to impress, that's when the emptiness creeps in. Because it was never gone. Just covered. This realization can be terrifying. But it's also freeing. Because if success didn't fix it, maybe the problem was never about doing more. Maybe it was about finally feeling more. And to do that, you have to stop performing and start reconnecting.